The dust storm came without warning. Kang Day pulled his jacket tighter and squinted through the red clouds that surrounded him. He had been walking along the edge of the ancient temple, taking measurements and photos like he always did. Then the wind picked up. Within seconds, he could not see his hand in front of his face. "Hello?" He called out.
"Velmoth?"
"Prin, anyone?" No answer came back. Only the howling wind. Day was a human, and humans were still new to this part of space. Most aliens thought humans were not very special. They were weak compared to some species. They lived short lives compared to others. They had no special powers or amazing technology. Day was used to being looked down upon. He did not mind much. He loved his work too much to care. He stumbled forward, trying to find his way back to camp. His hands touched something smooth and cold. The temple wall. Good. If he followed the wall, he would find his way around to the camp entrance. The wall felt strange under his fingers. It was made of black stone that seemed to absorb light. The locals called it the Temple of First Voices. They said it was 10,000 years old. Maybe older. Nobody really knew. The temple had always been here on the planet Valeros 9, long before any of the current alien species had built their civilizations. Day kept walking, one hand on the wall. The dust was so thick he could barely breathe. He pulled his shirt up over his nose and mouth, then his hand touched something different. Not smooth stone, but grooves. Patterns carved into the surface. He had seen these markings before. They were all over the temple's outer walls. Strange symbols that changed and shifted, never staying the same. The expedition's computers could not translate them. Velmoth, the lead scientist, said they were probably decorative. Nothing more. Day leaned against the wall, catching his breath. The storm was getting worse. He would have to wait it out. He pressed his palm flat against the carved symbols, trying to stay steady. The wall moved. At first, Day thought it was the wind pushing him. But no, the wall itself was moving, sliding backward, opening. A crack of pale blue light appeared in front of him, then wider. The massive doors of the temple swung inward without a sound. Day stumbled forward into the opening, away from the storm. He stood there, breathing hard, staring. The inside of the temple glowed with soft blue light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The corridor stretched forward, far longer than should be possible. The temple was not that big from the outside. Behind him, the storm raged. In front of him was silence and strange beauty. Then he heard it. Alarms, loud and urgent. Coming from the direction of the camp, Day's mind raced. The temple doors had opened. The doors that had been sealed for 10,000 years. The doors that the greatest scientist in 12 star systems could not crack. The doors that were supposed to be impossible to open. And he had opened them by accident. By touching them during a dust storm. This was very, very bad. He heard voices now, shouting, running footsteps. The storm must be clearing. People were coming. Velmoth arrived first. The tall alien stopped dead when he saw the open doors. His mouth fell open. His 4 eyes went wide. Then they narrowed and fixed on Day. "What did you do?" Velmoth's voice was barely a whisper. I just touched the wall," Day said. "I was lost in the storm. I touched the wall and it opened. More people arrived. Prin, the insect-like researcher, made clicking sounds of distress. Lukesh, the 4-armed security guard, drew his weapon and pointed it at the temple entrance. "At Day, step away from the door," Lukesh commanded. Day raised his hands and stepped back. The moment he moved away, the doors began to close. They swung shut with a soft thud, sealing once again. The blue light vanished. Only solid black stone remained. Everyone stared at the closed doors. Then at Day, Velmoth walked slowly around Day, examining him like a strange specimen. "Nothing could open these doors," he said. "We tried everything. Energy weapons, molecular acids, quantum keys. Nothing worked. I just touched them," Day repeated weakly. "Touch them again," Velmoth ordered. Day hesitated, then walked back to the doors. He reached out with one shaking hand and pressed his palm against the black surface. The doors opened immediately. Blue light spilled out once more. The camp exploded into chaos. Scientists ran in all directions. Guards formed a perimeter. Someone was shouting orders into a communicator, probably calling the planet's government. Prin approached carefully, antennae twitching. "This is impossible," she said. "These doors were said to open only for the precursors, the mythical beings who built the temple. They have been gone for millions of years. Day looked at his hand, then at the open doors. A terrible thought was forming in his mind. What if the doors thought he was a precursor? What if there was something about being human that matched whatever the doors were looking for? He looked up at the faces surrounding him. Velmoth's expression was a mix of anger and fear. Prin looked fascinated and terrified. Lukesh kept his weapon ready. Day realized his life had just become much more complicated, and possibly much shorter. The blue light waited inside the temple. Patient. Eternal. Calling him home. The meeting room was crowded and tense. Day sat in the center, feeling like a specimen under examination, which he supposed he was. Velmoth paced back and forth, his long robe sweeping the floor. This human must have used some kind of hidden technology, he insisted. There is no other explanation. I have nothing, Day said for the 10th time. Check my clothes. Scan my body. I am just an archaeologist. They had already scanned him 3 times. They found nothing unusual. Just a normal human with normal human biology. Nothing that could trick ancient technology into opening. Nahai sat in the corner, watching everything carefully. She had arrived on a fast shuttle from the diplomatic station. Nahai was human like Day, but she worked in politics, not science. Her job was to keep humans safe and maintain good relationships with alien species. Right now she looked very worried. Let us think about this logically, Prin said. Her voice was calm, which helped settle the room. The doors opened when Day touched them. They closed when he moved away. They opened again when he touched them a second time. This is consistent behavior, not a malfunction. Then what is it? Demanded a tall alien from the Concordate Council. The Concordate was the alliance that governed this part of space. 12 species working together. Well, usually working together. Right now they seemed ready to start fighting. The doors are responding to something in his biology, Prin continued. Or perhaps something in his consciousness. His genetic code or his brain patterns. Something that matches their programming. Velmoth stopped pacing. The temple was built by the precursors. The first ones who walked the stars at the dawn of civilization. The doors were said to open only for them. A heavy silence fell over the room. Are you suggesting, Nahai said carefully, that humans are related to these precursors? Impossible! Velmoth's voice rose. Humans are a young species. Your planet is on the outer edge of the galaxy. You have been in space for only 200 years. You are nothing like the precursors of legend. Day felt his face grow hot with anger, but he kept quiet. Getting emotional would not help. Prin tilted her head. Yet the doors opened for him. Not for any of us. Not for any of our ancestors in 10,000 years. Only for a human. More arguing followed. Some council members wanted to study Day in a laboratory. Others wanted him sent away from the planet immediately. A few extremists demanded he be arrested or worse. They claimed he had contaminated a holy site. Nahai stood up. Enough. Kang Day is a respected scientist. He did nothing wrong. He touched a wall during a dust storm. What happened next was not his fault. Then explain it, Velmoth shouted. I cannot, Nahai admitted. But neither can you. We need to learn more before making accusations. The head of the council, an elderly alien with silver skin, raised one hand. The room fell silent. There is only one way to find answers, she said. Someone must enter the temple. Explore it. Learn why the doors opened after so long, and perhaps discover why they opened for a human. Everyone started talking at once. The council head raised her hand again. Kang Day will lead an exploration team into the temple. He will be accompanied by observers from multiple species to ensure fairness. Whatever they find inside, they will report to this council. And if it is dangerous? Lukesh asked. What if the temple has defenses? Then you will accompany them as security, the council head said. Velmoth will represent Sylvan scientific interests. Prin will document everything for the records. Nahai will ensure human rights are protected. Velmoth looked like he wanted to argue, but he knew better than to challenge the council head. He nodded stiffly. Nahai came over today after the meeting ended. Are you okay? She asked quietly. I don't know, Day admitted. This morning I was measuring old stones. Now I'm at the center of an interspecies crisis. I will not let them hurt you, Nahai promised. But I need you to be honest with me. Is there anything you are not telling us? Anything at all that might explain this? Day shook his head. I wish there was. I really do. But I'm just an archaeologist who loves ancient history. Nothing special about me. Naha studied his face, then nodded. I believe you. But someone needs to explain why those doors think you are special. And soon, because there are people out there who would rather destroy you than accept what the doors are saying. That night, Day could not sleep. He lay in his small quarters, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere outside, guards watched his door. They said it was for his protection. He was not sure if that was true. He thought about the temple, about the blue light inside, about doors that had waited 10,000 years to open. Why did they open for him? What were they waiting for? And what would they find inside? The questions circled in his mind like birds. No answers came. Morning arrived too quickly. Day dressed in his expedition gear and met the others at the temple entrance. Velmoth refused to look at him. Prin offered a small nod of greeting. Lukesh checked his weapons. Nahe stayed close to Day's side. The black doors stood before them, waiting. Day took a deep breath and placed his hand on the surface. The doors opened. Blue light spilled out, washing over them all. Stay close, Lukesh ordered. Watch for traps. They stepped inside together. The doors closed behind them with a soft sound of finality. The temple had waited 10,000 years for visitors. Now it had them. The corridor stretched impossibly far into the distance. Day looked back at the entrance. The temple had not seemed this large from outside, not even close. This defies spatial logic, Prin said, her instruments clicking and whirring. The interior volume exceeds the exterior dimensions by a factor of 12. More impossible things, Velmoth muttered. He walked with stiff movements, clearly unhappy to be here. Lukesh led the way, weapon ready. His 4 eyes scanned constantly for threats. Stay behind me. Touch nothing unless I clear it first. The blue light came from the walls themselves. They were covered in moving images like windows into other places and times. Day stopped to look at one. It showed a city he did not recognize. Strange buildings with curved walls. Beings walking through streets, going about their daily lives. They looked similar to Prin's species, but not quite the same. Are you recording this? Nahe asked. Prin held up her device. Trying. Most of our technology is malfunctioning. The energy here interferes with our systems. She tapped the device. But I am getting some readings. They walked deeper. More images appeared on the walls. Day saw hundreds of different species. Some he recognized from history books. Others were completely unknown. They were all living normal lives in the images. Building homes. Raising children. Creating art. Celebrating together. These species, Velmoth said slowly. I recognize some of them. They are all extinct. Dead for thousands of years. Not all, Day said. He pointed to an image of creatures that looked like Lukesh's people. The Netherians are still around. That is not quite right, Lukesh said. He moved closer to the image. Look at the differences. The skull shape. The hand structure. These are similar to my people, but they are not the same. Like cousins, perhaps. A related species. Prin made more clicking sounds. This is a record. A library of life. The temple is showing us species that once existed. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling soared overhead, lost in blue light. The walls were lined with what looked like glass containers, each one glowing softly. Velmoth approached one of the containers. His breath caught. Genetic samples. These are genetic samples. Preserved DNA. Day came to stand beside him. Inside the container was a spiral of light, constantly rotating. Information in pure form. There are thousands of them, Nahe said, looking around the chamber. Maybe tens of thousands. More than that, Prin said, checking her struggling instruments. I count over 100,000 individual samples, each one containing the complete genetic code for a different species. Velmoth's hands trembled as he examined the containers. This is not just a temple. This is an archive, a genetic library. The builders preserved the DNA of every intelligent species they encountered. Why? Lukesh asked. To save them, Day said quietly. If a species went extinct, their genetic code would still exist here. They could be recreated, brought back. The group walked among the containers in silence, awed by what they were seeing. Then Prin stopped. Her antennae pointed straight up. I found something, she said. They gathered around her. The container she stood before had symbols Day recognized. His heart started beating faster. That is the human genetic code, Nahe whispered. Indeed, inside the container was a spiral of light just like the others, but the label was written in ancient symbols that somehow, impossibly, spelled out a word all of them could understand. Human. How long has this been here? Day asked. Prin scanned it carefully. Based on the energy signatures, millions of years old. Maybe 3 million years, long before humans built cities. Before humans had language. That is impossible, Velmoth said, but his voice lacked confidence now. Nahe pointed at other containers nearby. Look, all of these have similar dates. They are all ancient. Day read the labels. They were species he had never heard of. Strange names in languages long dead, but one thing was the same for all of them. At the bottom of each label was a single word that translated clearly in his mind. Caretaker. What does that mean? Nahai asked. Caretaker? Before anyone could answer, the chamber shifted. The blue light grew brighter. A sphere of pure luminescence formed in the center of the room, hovering in the air. Lukesh raised his weapon. Get back! But the sphere did not attack. Instead, it spoke. Not with sound, but directly into their minds. Each person heard it in their own way, perfectly translated. Welcome, caretakers. The archive has waited long for your return. Velmoth gasped. Prin's antenna flattened against her head. Lukesh kept his weapon pointed at the sphere. Day found his voice. Who are you? I am the archive keeper. I was created by the precursors to maintain this library until the caretakers returned. The precursors are real? Velmoth's voice cracked. They were real, the keeper said. They died out long ago, but they left their knowledge behind. And they left the caretakers to watch over it. Nahai stepped forward. You called us caretakers, why? Not all of you, the keeper said. Only the human. He carries the genetic markers. He is what remains of the last caretaker species. Day felt like the floor was falling away beneath him. What are you saying? Humans were created by the precursors, designed and placed on Earth as guardians. You were meant to spread through the stars and protect the diversity of life. You were meant to tend the gardens of the galaxy. No, Velmoth said. That cannot be true. Humans are primitive. They are nothing special. They are exactly what the precursors needed, the keeper replied. Strong enough to survive. Curious enough to explore. Stubborn enough never to give up. Humans were the final caretaker project. The backup plan. The last hope. Day's mind reeled. This could not be real. He was just an archaeologist. Humans were just another species trying to make their way in a crowded galaxy. Except the doors had opened for him. The archive recognized him. And now this ancient intelligence was saying humans had been created for a purpose, a responsibility that stretched across millions of years. What happened to the other caretaker species? Prin asked. The keeper's light dimmed. Most died out. Some forgot their purpose. A few fulfilled their duty and passed into peaceful extinction. Only humans remain. You are the last. The weight of those words settled over them like a heavy blanket. Day looked at his hands. Ordinary human hands. Nothing special about them. Except they could open doors that had been sealed for 10,000 years. Because he was a caretaker. A gardener of life itself, whether he wanted to be or not. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humans were the last caretaker species. They had been created by the precursors. They were special. Day sat in his quarters 3 days after leaving the temple, watching the reports flood in. Every news channel. Every planet. Everyone was talking about it. Some called humans heroes. Others called them frauds. Religious movements sprang up overnight. Some worshipped humans as chosen ones. Others condemned them as blasphemers pretending to be divine. This is a disaster, Nahai said. She paced the small room, worry clear on her face. Half the galaxy wants to study us like laboratory animals. The other half wants us dead. Is there a third option? Day asked quietly. Not that I can see. Day rubbed his eyes. He had barely slept since the revelation. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that sphere of light. Heard the keeper's words echoing in his mind. You are the last. I did not ask for this, he said. I know, Nahai replied. She sat down beside him. But it found you anyway. The question now is what we do about it. A knock on the door interrupted them. Lukesh entered, his face serious. The council has called another meeting. They want answers. The meeting room was even more crowded than before. Representatives from all 12 concordant species filled the seats. Day saw anger on many faces, fear on others. Velmoth sat in the corner, looking lost. The council head spoke first. The archive keeper provided us with significant information. Information that challenges everything we thought we knew about galactic history. Some of us have questions. That was an understatement. Everyone had questions. A Netherian commander named Thos stood up. He was large even for his species, with scars across his armored skin. I have a question. If humans are these special caretakers, why have they been hiding at the edge of the galaxy? Why did they only reveal themselves now? We were not hiding, Day said. We did not know. None of us knew what we were. Convenient, Thos said. His tone made it clear he did not believe it. Prin raised one leg. The genetic evidence is clear. Humans carry markers that match the other caretaker species. This is not something they could fake. Then perhaps they are the children of caretakers, another council member said. But that does not make them special now. The precursors are millions of years dead. Whatever purpose humans had is over. That is not entirely accurate, Velmuth said. Everyone turned to look at him. He stood slowly, as if the words were hard to speak. The archive keeper told us there are 217 temples across the galaxy. Only this one has been opened. The others remain sealed. So? Thos asked. So the archive is incomplete, Velmuth continued. Each temple holds different knowledge, different genetic samples, different technologies. If we could open all of them, we could recover everything the precursors learned. Everything they saved. Excited murmurs filled the room. But only humans can open the doors, Prin said. That is the problem. Thos slammed his fist on the table. Then we have a bigger problem. If humans control access to precursor technology, they control the future of the galaxy. They can share knowledge with their friends and deny it to their enemies. They become the most powerful species in existence. We would never do that, Nahai said. You say that now, Thos replied. But power changes people. Power corrupts. The council head raised her hand for silence. What does the archive keeper suggest we do? Day cleared his throat. The keeper said humans should visit each temple and activate the network. Once all temples are active, they share their knowledge with each other. Everything becomes available to everyone. A network controlled by humans, Thos said. A network open to all species, Day corrected. The keeper was very clear. The knowledge belongs to everyone. Humans are just the ones who can unlock the doors. Like janitors, someone muttered. A few people laughed. Day felt his face grow hot, but he said nothing. Let them laugh. He was used to being underestimated. Velmuth spoke again. I have spent my entire life studying the precursors, believing my people were their chosen descendants, learning that humans hold that place instead. He paused. It has been difficult, but I cannot deny the evidence, and I cannot deny the opportunity. He looked at Day directly for the first time since the temple. If opening these temples means recovering knowledge that could cure diseases, solve energy problems, and restore extinct species, then I believe we must do it. Even if humans are the key, Thos stood up. This is a mistake. Giving humans this much power will destroy us all. They already have the power, Prin pointed out. The doors respond to them. We cannot change that. We can only decide what to do about it. The council debated for hours. Day sat through it all, feeling more and more like an object being discussed rather than a person present in the room. Finally, the council head made a decision. Humanity will be allowed to activate the temple network, but they will not do it alone. A joint expedition will be formed. Multiple species working together. Humans will open the doors. Others will study what is inside. All knowledge will be shared equally among the concordant members. It was not a perfect solution, but it was better than war. Thos stood and left the room without a word. Several others followed him. Nahai leaned close to Day. This is not over. Thos will cause trouble. I know, Day said. That night, Day walked outside under alien stars. Lukesh followed at a distance, still acting as his guard. The large Netherian had been quiet since the revelation. Can I ask you something? Day said. Lukesh approached. Yes. Do you think I am special? Because of what the keeper said? Lukesh was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I think you are the same person you were before. The galaxy has changed around you, but you have not changed. That is what I thought, Day said. I am still just an archaeologist who loves old things. Perhaps that is exactly what a caretaker should be, Lukesh said. Someone who values the past, who wants to preserve it, who wants to share it with others. Day looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there were 216 more temples, 216 more doors waiting to be opened. It would take years, maybe a lifetime. But if it meant saving knowledge and helping people, it was worth it. even if he never asked for the job. The expedition ship was called the Unity. Day thought the name was trying too hard to sound positive. He stood in the cargo bay watching supplies being loaded. The Unity was a concordant research vessel, built to carry scientists from multiple species. It had comfortable quarters, good laboratories, and enough fuel to travel for years without stopping. Nervous? A voice asked. Day turned to see a human man about his age. He was taller than Day, with a confident smile and the uniform of a starship captain. Captain Tay Bin, the man said, offering his hand. I will be flying this ship. And keeping you alive, hopefully. Day shook his hand. You volunteered for this? Of course, Tay Bin said. How often do you get to be part of something this important? Besides, someone needs to make sure the aliens play nice. Day was not sure if he liked Tay Bin's casual attitude, but he appreciated the confidence. They would need it. More crew members arrived. Sol-Yu was a young human scientist who specialized in genetics. She looked excited and terrified at the same time. I cannot believe I get to study precursor genetic archives, she said. This is literally my dream job. Prin joined them, her instruments already beeping and clicking. She had asked to come along to document everything. Lukesh came too, insisting that someone needed to protect Day from fanatics. Even Velmoth had volunteered, though he still seemed uncomfortable around Day. Nahe arrived last. I wish I was coming with you, she said. But someone needs to stay here and handle the politics. Lucky you, Day said. She smiled, but her eyes were worried. Be careful. Thos and his followers are planning something. I do not know what, but my sources say he has been gathering ships and weapons. We will watch for trouble, Tay Bin promised. The Unity launched the next morning. Their first destination was a temple on a remote planet called Kivor 6. According to the archive keeper, it specialized in medical knowledge. If they could open it, they might find cures for diseases that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. The journey took 2 weeks. Day spent most of it reading old texts and trying to understand what it meant to be a caretaker. The other crew members kept their distance at first, unsure how to act around him. But gradually they relaxed. Sol-Yu talked his ear off about genetic engineering. Prin showed him her collection of historical recordings. Velmoth even started a few awkward conversations about archaeology. Tay Bin treated him like any other crew member, which Day appreciated most of all. Lukesh was the biggest surprise. The large warrior had a dry sense of humor and loved to tell stories about his military days. He and Day played strategy games in the evenings, with Lukesh winning almost every time. You are terrible at this, Lukesh said after another victory. I know, Day admitted, but I keep trying. That is very human of you, Lukesh said. But he was smiling. They arrived at Kivor 6 to find the temple waiting. It looked almost identical to the one on Vailros 9. Same black stone, same shifting symbols, same sealed doors. Day placed his hand on the surface. The doors opened immediately. Inside, they found another vast archive. This one focused on medicine, just as the keeper had said. Genetic cures for hundreds of diseases, advanced surgical techniques, biological knowledge that modern science had not yet discovered. Sol-Yu cried when she saw it. We can save so many people, she whispered. They spent 3 days documenting everything. Then they moved on to the next temple, and the next. Each one held different knowledge. One specialized in energy systems. Another contained agricultural techniques. A third archived art and music from extinct civilizations. After opening the 5th temple, Day realized he was starting to understand his role. He was not special because he was better than others. He was special because he could do something others could not. It was a responsibility, not a privilege. They were approaching their 7th temple when trouble found them. Warning sirens filled the ship. Tay Bin's voice came over the speakers. Everyone to emergency stations. We have hostile ships incoming. Day ran to the bridge. Through the view screen, he saw 3 military vessels blocking their path. They were Netherian design. Thos, Lukesh growled. A communication came through. Thos's scarred face appeared on the screen. Unity, power down your engines. On whose authority? Tay Bin demanded. On the authority of common sense, Thos said. What you are doing is dangerous. Humans should not have access to precursor technology. We are here to stop you. The Council approved this mission, Velmoth said. The Council made a mistake, Thos replied. I am correcting it. Tay Bin's hands moved across the controls. We have a problem. They have us outnumbered and outgunned. If it comes to a fight, we lose. It will not come to a fight, Dee said. Open a channel. Tabin looked at him skeptically but did as asked. Day faced the screen. Commander Thos, I understand your concerns. You are worried about humans having too much power. You think we will use it against you? Obviously, Thos said. Then come with us, Day said. Join the expedition. See what we are doing. The temples are not weapons. They are libraries. The knowledge inside helps everyone. Words, Thos said. I want proof. Then I will give you proof, Day said. Come aboard the Unity. See the archives we have already opened. Judge for yourself. Thos was silent for a long moment. Then he said, I will send a representative. If I suspect treachery, I will destroy your ship. The channel closed. Tay-Bin let out a breath. That was either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, Day admitted. An hour later, a shuttle docked with the Unity. A young Netherian officer came aboard. Her name was Rena, and she looked nervous. Commander Thos sent me to observe, she said. Day showed her everything. The medical archives. The energy systems. The agricultural data. Rena examined it all carefully, taking notes. This is all freely shared? She asked. You are not keeping secrets? No secrets, Sol Yu confirmed. Everything is documented and sent back to the council. Any species can access it. Rena spent 2 days with them. She watched Day open the 7th temple. She saw the team work together, humans and aliens side by side. When her shuttle prepared to leave, she approached Day privately. I will tell Commander Thos what I saw, she said, but I do not know if it will change his mind. He is very certain humans cannot be trusted. Why? Day asked. Rena hesitated. His home planet was destroyed in a war. He lost his family. He believes that power always leads to destruction. He sees humans gaining power and fears history will repeat. Day understood then. Thos was not evil. He was afraid, and fear made people do desperate things. Thank you for telling me, Day said. Rena left. The Unity continued on its journey. But Day knew this was not over. Thos would not give up so easily, and somewhere in space danger was gathering like storm clouds. The attack came in the middle of the night cycle. Day was asleep when the explosion rocked the ship. He tumbled out of his bed and hit the wall. Red emergency lights filled his quarters. The alarm was deafening. He pulled on his clothes and ran into the corridor. Crew members rushed past him, heading to their stations. Smoke filled the air. What happened? He shouted. Bomb in the engine room, someone yelled back. We have a saboteur. Day's heart sank. Someone on the crew was working against them. He made his way to the bridge. Tabin was shouting orders while fighting the controls. Engines are at 30%. Life support is holding. Someone find the saboteur. How bad is it? Day asked. Bad enough, Tabin said. We are stuck in orbit around this planet. If the saboteur hits us again, we are dead. Security teams searched the ship. It did not take long to find the culprit. One of the maintenance crew had smuggled a small explosive device aboard. When they dragged him to the bridge, Day recognized him as a Netherian named Kesh. Thos sent you, Lukesh said. It was not a question. Kesh said nothing. His face showed no regret. Velmoth was furious. You could have killed us all. For what, to prove a point? To prevent humans from gaining too much power, Kesh said calmly. Commander Thos warned you. He gave you a chance to stop. You did not listen. So you tried to murder us, Sol Yu said. I tried to save the galaxy, Kesh replied. Lukesh locked Kesh in the brig, but the damage was done. The Unity was crippled. They would need days to repair the engines, maybe weeks. We are sitting targets, Tabin said. If Thos knows his saboteur succeeded, he will send ships to finish us off. Can we defend ourselves? Dee asked. The Unity is a research ship, not a warship. Against military vessels, we would not last 5 minutes. They were trapped. Day went down to the engine room to see the damage himself. It was worse than he feared. Blackened metal and melted circuits everywhere. The engineering team worked frantically to patch things together. That is when the call came in. Nahai's face appeared on Day's personal communicator. She looked terrified. Day, thank the stars you are alive. I heard about the attack. We survived, Day said. But we are damaged and vulnerable. It gets worse, Nahai said. Thos has located a temple on a remote planet. He is heading there with a fleet of ships and antimatter weapons. He plans to destroy it. Day felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Destroy a temple? But why? To prove they are not invulnerable. If he can destroy one temple, He claims it proves humans do not have divine protection. He thinks it will turn the council against you. How long do we have? Maybe 3 days before he reaches the temple. Maybe less. Day ran back to the bridge. We need to move now. Tabin shook his head. The engines are not ready. We need another week at least. We do not have a week, Day said. He explained what Nahai had told him. Everyone fell silent. Even if we could fly, Velmoth said, we could not reach that temple in 3 days. It is too far. Prin's antennae twitched. There is one way. The slipstream route through the Vex Nebula. It cuts travel time by 70%. That route is extremely dangerous, Luke said. Ships get lost in there all the time. We do not have a choice, Day said. Tabin looked at his crew. Can you get the engines running enough to reach the nebula? The chief engineer, a small alien with 8 legs, scuttled forward. Maybe. But the engines will burn out halfway through the nebula. We will only get one chance at this. Then we make it count, Tabin said. They worked through the night. Every crew member helped, even those with no engineering training. They bypassed damaged systems. They rerouted power from non-essential areas. They pushed the ship beyond its safety limits. 12 hours later, the engines sputtered to life. That is the best we can do, the chief engineer said. They will hold for maybe 6 hours. Then we are drifting. 6 hours will have to be enough, Tabin said. The Unity limped toward the nebula. Behind them, Day imagined Thas's fleet racing toward the temple. Racing to destroy 10,000 years of preserved knowledge because of fear. They entered the Vex Nebula at full speed. The view screen filled with purple and blue clouds that twisted like living things. Navigation became nearly impossible. Sensors barely worked. Tabin flew by instinct, weaving through the clouds. Several times they passed close to other ships, derelict and abandoned. Reminders of what happened to those who got lost here. Engine temperature rising, the engineer warned. Keep going, Tabin said. 4 hours into the journey, the port engine exploded. The ship shuddered violently. Reroute to starboard engine only, Tabin ordered. They slowed down but kept moving. 5 hours in, the starboard engine began failing. We are not going to make it, someone said. But then Day saw it through the view screen. The edge of the nebula. Clear space beyond. Almost there, Tabin said through gritted teeth. The engine died completely with the nebula exit 50 meters away. Their momentum carried them forward. Slowly. Too slowly. Everyone to the aft section, Tabin ordered. We need to shift the ship's weight. The crew ran to the back of the ship. It was crazy, but it worked. The Unity tilted slightly and drifted the last few meters through the nebula's edge. They emerged into clear space, and there, in the distance, was the temple planet. They could see Thas's fleet in orbit. See the massive antimatter bomb being positioned. We are here, Day said. But how do we stop them with no engines? Lukesh smiled grimly. We have one weapon left, communication. He opened channels to every ship in the area. Not just Thas's fleet. Every ship within range, attention all vessels. This is the Unity. We are a scientific expedition approved by the Concordate Council. Commander Thas is about to destroy a temple containing irreplaceable knowledge. Knowledge that could save millions of lives. We ask all witnesses to record what happens here. Let the galaxy judge who is right. Silence, then ships started appearing. Civilian vessels, merchant ships, even a few military ships from other species. Word had spread about the expedition, about the temples. People wanted to see. Thas's face appeared on their screen. He looked furious. You have no right to be here. We have every right, Day said. The council gave us permission. You are acting alone against council orders. I am protecting the galaxy, Thas said. By destroying knowledge? Velmoth asked. By burning libraries? That is not protection. That is fear. The fleet of witness ships grew. Dozens, then hundreds. All recording. All watching. Thas stared at the screen showing all those witnesses. If he destroyed the temple now, everyone would see. The galaxy would know what he did. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Lukesh's voice cut through the tension. Commander Thas, I am Lukesh of Nethar. I have fought beside you in battles. I know you are a good soldier who loves his people. But this is wrong. You know it is wrong. Thas's expression twisted with pain and anger. Stand down, Commander, Lukesh said gently. Before you do something you cannot take back. The antimatter bomb's countdown stopped. Thas's fleet powered down their weapons. This is not over, Thas said. Then his image disappeared, his fleet withdrew. The temple was safe. Day collapsed into a chair, shaking with relief. They had made it. Barely, but they had made it. Around them, the witness ship sent messages of support. The galaxy was watching now, and it wanted the temples opened, not destroyed. The race continued. But now they had help. 3 years passed. Day stood at the entrance of the 42nd temple, watching children play in the corridors. Human children, Netherian children, Sylvan and dozens of other species, all running and laughing together. The temples were no longer just ancient archives. They had become schools, meeting places, symbols of cooperation. Hard to believe how much has changed, a voice said. Day turned to see Velmoth approaching. The old scientist walked with a cane now, but his eyes were bright with excitement. He carried a datapad filled with new discoveries. We finished translating the agricultural texts from Temple 38, Velmoth said. The techniques could increase crop yields by 40%. Several planets have already requested copies. That is wonderful, Day said. I never thanked you properly, Velmoth said suddenly. When I first met you, I thought you were nobody special. I was wrong. Not because of your genetics. Because of your character. You could have hoarded the temple's knowledge, used it for power. Instead, you shared everything. That is what makes you a true caretaker. Day felt his face grow warm. I had help. A lot of help. From many species, Velmoth agreed. That is how it should be. After the standoff with Thos, everything changed. The Concordat Council formally recognized humanity's role but created a joint oversight committee. Humans could open the temples, but representatives from all species would study and share the knowledge inside. It was not perfect. There were still arguments, still disagreements, but it was working. Day and his team had opened over 200 temples now. Each one revealed new wonders, medical cures that saved billions of lives, energy systems that provided clean power, historical records that filled gaps in galactic history. 3 extinct species had been successfully restored using the genetic templates. Small populations carefully managed but alive again, walking and breathing and getting a second chance. The greatest surprise came at Temple 89. They found Thos there waiting for them. Day had been ready for a fight, but Thos did not come with weapons. He came alone. I was wrong, Thos said simply. I watched what you have accomplished, the lives you have saved, the knowledge you have shared. I was afraid of what humans might do with power, but you have shown me that some people deserve to be trusted. It was not a full apology, but it was a start. Thos had spent the last 2 years working to change minds in the military. Not everyone listened, but many did. More and more species sent representatives to join the temple expeditions. Lukash retired from the military to become the Unity's permanent security chief. He said he had found a better way to protect people than fighting wars. Sol Yu published dozens of papers on precursor genetics. Her work revolutionized medicine across the galaxy. She was nominated for every scientific prize that existed. Tay Bin got a better ship after the Unity finally fell apart. The new vessel was called the Unity 2, and it was built specifically for temple expeditions. Faster, safer, with proper defenses. Prin's documentary about the temples became the most watched program in galactic history. She won awards and gave lectures, but she still preferred being in the field, recording new discoveries. Nahai became ambassador to the Concordat Council. She worked tirelessly to maintain good relationships between humans and other species. It was exhausting work, but she was good at it, and Day continued opening doors. Sometimes he thought about what the archive keeper had told him, that humans were created to be caretakers, to tend the gardens of the galaxy. He used to resist that idea. He did not want to be special, did not want the responsibility, but now he understood. Being a caretaker was not about being better than others. It was about doing work that needed to be done, about preserving what was valuable, about helping where help was needed. Anyone could be a caretaker. Humans just happened to have the genetic key to open certain doors. What they did after the doors opened, that was up to everyone. Day walked through the temple, nodding to researchers from 6 different species working together. They were cataloging art from a civilization that died out 12,000 years ago. Paintings and sculptures and music, all preserved, all being shared. He found a quiet spot and activated his communicator. His parents appeared on the screen calling from Earth. Day! His mother's face filled with joy. We saw your latest report. Another temple opened. 203 now, Day said. Only 14 left to find. Will you come home when you finish? His father asked. Day thought about it. Maybe for a visit. But this work is not really finished. Even after all temples are opened, there is so much to learn. So much to preserve and share. This could take lifetimes, his mother smiled. Then we are proud you are doing it. After the call ended, Day went up to the temple's highest level. There was an observation deck where you could see the stars. Bin was already there, staring out at the darkness between worlds. Cannot sleep? Dai asked. Too excited, Bin admitted. Tomorrow we head to Temple 204. Who knows what we will find? More knowledge. More history. More proof that the universe is bigger and stranger than we imagined. And worth protecting, Bin added. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, 14 temples still waited. After those, the real work would begin. Taking all the knowledge from 217 temples and figuring out how to use it. How to share it. How to let it benefit everyone. It would take centuries. Maybe longer, but that was okay. Humans were patient when they needed to be. Persistent, stubborn. All the qualities the precursors had built into them. The garden of the galaxy was vast. Tending it would be the work of many lifetimes. Many species. Many hands working together. A young Sylvan child approached them on the observation deck. She looked nervous. Excuse me, she said. Are you Kang Day, the human who opens the temples? I am, Day said. My teacher says you are special, that you were chosen by the Ancient Ones. Day knelt down to her level. I can do something most people cannot, but that does not make me better than anyone else. It just means I have a job to do. We all have jobs to do. The important thing is doing them well and helping each other. What is my job? The child asked. I do not know, Day said honestly, but you will figure it out. Maybe you will be a scientist, or an artist, or a builder. The galaxy needs all kinds of people doing all kinds of work. The child thought about this, then smiled. I want to be a gardener, like you. Then be the best gardener you can be, Day said. The child ran off to rejoin her class. Tabin chuckled. Gardener, I like that description. It fits, Day said. The precursors built these temples as gardens. Gardens of knowledge, gardens of life, gardens of diversity. They knew they were dying, so they planted seeds, hoping someone would come along to water them. And you did, Tabin said. We all did, Dee corrected. Humans opened the doors. But everyone helps tend what is inside. That is the point. The garden belongs to everyone. They return to their quarters eventually. Tomorrow would be another long day of travel. Another temple to open. Another piece of the ancient puzzle to recover. But tonight, Day slept peacefully. He dreamed of gardens growing between the stars. Gardens tended by hands of every shape and size. Gardens where children played and learned. Gardens that would outlast any single species, any single generation. The temple doors had waited 10,000 years for someone to open them. They were open now. And they would stay open, welcoming all who came to learn, to share, to remember what the precursors tried to teach, that life was diverse and precious, that knowledge was meant to be shared, that working together was always better than standing alone. The gardens among the stars were growing again, and this time, they would never be abandoned, because the caretakers had returned, not to rule, not to conquer, but to tend, to preserve, to help things grow. That was enough. That was everything. Dai smiled in his sleep, dreaming of seeds and starlight and open doors. The story of the temples was still being written, and everyone held the pen,